All right, everybody, and welcome back to the fourth and final day of the Edmonton Public Schools Spring League of Legends Tournament presented by the Game Stadium and sponsored by Herbaland and Sportfactor. I'm John the Batman Hat, and today you all can see me. Isn't it awful? I know. I'm here to bring you play-by-play cast for the day, and joining me is the big brain man himself, Random. If maybe you want to introduce yourself to chat, let them know a little bit about you.
Sure, I'm Random Minion Caster. As you can see, unfortunately, I'm not Swanner. Don't look quite as good. My picture, I wish I had a picture which looked half as good as Swanner's did. But you know what? I am here. I'm going to be casting. And yes, I am that minion who killed you when you were less than 10 health after you flashed away from the turret.
Wow. I have to cast with you and you killed me? I can't believe you.
First blood,
but anyway.
Man, execute.
Anyway, dumb bantering aside, our first match of the day is going to be Ainlay 2 versus Osborne 1. And the winner of this will go into the finals to face Osborne 2. And obviously the loser, go place McNally. I read my third place thing because, you know, if you leave the post-it note and you read it in the wrong order, you look dumb on camera. But anyways, so the loser of this will go down to the third place match to play against Osborne. The loser goes to play Osborne 2. Winner will go and play McNally in a 1-2. For the big championship with the, I think it's the Herbaland gift card for the winners. So we'll be getting into here as soon as we can. I think we got the players in the draft. I'll quickly check with my producer. Alrighty, it looks like they're all good to start, and we will be into our pro draft as soon as we can here. Random, I gave you the completely minimalistic rundown of the teams and everything like that. Any early hot takes with no information behind them?
I mean, from what I'm hearing here, Kaisa Hekrim.
Kaisa Hekrim, anybody?
Everywhere right now.
Anyway,
there's also the sort of Cassidy and Osborne special coming through right now. So expecting to see that potentially either on the ban list or on the Rift one way or another. Part of me kind of feels like having Osborne 1 lose this and have the Osborne reunion in the third place match might be funny. But
I agree.
I don't know how likely that is. Osborne's really fast with their games here. The second quickest team left, average game time 23 minutes according to our producer Rob here. So you know, it should be fast one way or another.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only team faster than them is McNally, who is currently sitting up in finals. So maybe we'll have the fast of who can be the fast. Oh, and also, you know, the meta is fast right now. You got Hecarim, you got Udyr, you got too many people running Chem Tank.
Yeah, hey, Leona runs Chem Tank now too.
Yeah, you're right.
I'd be happy to see it on Kled. I mean, I know it's not normal on Kled, Stripebreaker on Kled, Gordon on Kled, but hey, gotta go fast on Kled. Charge.
Hey, we have seen quite a few Kleds in the tournament. I think McNally is pretty partial to the pick, so like, we might see it. I think they're probably gonna go into damage items and try and snowball the top, but I am down for Chem Tank Kled any day.
Just when you thought you got away after the charge is done.
Yeah, exactly. There is no escape. All right, it looks like we are getting a pick and draft here. So I imagine there's going to be an early Kaisa, early Hecarim ban. Oh, an Urgot ban. You know, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, I mean, Sir Pandas, unfortunately for Ainlay too, one of the most played champions there is the Urgot, and absolutely nobody is letting Sir Pandas have it. It did just get nerfed. This is patch 11.6 here. Granted, the nerf wasn't huge, but maybe let the man try it out.
Yeah, maybe let him try it out, you know. But, and then we got the Hecarim ban, you know, didn't see that coming. Now it's a classic though. Every time Hecarim's been banned, usually the Kaisa has gotten through. So I just need to see if history repeats itself here.
Okay.
Oh, the Elise. Okay, yeah, they banned the kid's Elise. Okay, Ainlay 2 as jungler has played Elise in like the last 2 games, and I think he's gotten at least like 10 kills almost every single time. This man's Elise is ridiculous. So that is a very good target ban coming out from Osborne 1 here.
Yeah, for sure. I think in their last game here, Elise for Ainlay 2 for Kaizen didn't even die a single time, I believe, against Jasper Place. So definitely something you want to take off the table, and it just feels like a huge jungle pinch coming through as well. The Rengar ban now coming out against Minecraft Mohammed here, taking away the Hecarim, taking away the Rengar, trying to force him, I think, on a more passive jungler that they can potentially take advantage of.
Yeah, maybe looking to like almost force the just early farming junglers instead of like what we've seen is a lot of explosive early game junglers in this tournament. And actually it's mostly been around like the scuttle fights, and usually whichever one either A gets the double skull or wins that scuttle fight does tend to snowball most of these games. that at least I've seen. Now, there has been some like unfortunate late game stuff, but usually the early game has been kind of dictated by the scuttle fight, and then the resulting usually dragon after that, or maybe into like a bigger gang. And there's Zaya, our second most prominent AD carry in this tournament, getting banned away. And then the Kassadin ban is kind of a target ban towards Osborne 1, who does tend to leer towards the Kassadin. I think in the first game we saw on stream with them, they ran Kassadin, Darius, and Vayne. And I'm not going to lie, it was a bloodbath.
Yeah, those champions you like to kill.
It's Kaisa.
Yeah.
We've done it again.
You can only ban 3 champions here, right? If you're banning the Rengar, the Hecarim, and the Kassadin, then something's left open. Either it's the Kaisa, or maybe even the Kazakhs coming up. You ban the Rengar. That tells me you don't want to let them play aggressive champions. Well, Minecraft Muhammad also does play that Kazakhs, which basically is similar to Rengar, so that might come through. The Tristana for Banana here as well has played it quite a bit here, and I actually like the Tristana into Kaisa matchup. You do more damage early, and you outrange late. You've got the Buster Shot to push back, so I think you can afford to let Kaisa through if you are going to prioritize that Tristana for yourself.
Yeah, no, Tristana's been, I think roughly about our third most popular AD carry here. And as you said, she has like just such a strong lane matchup there. But also a lot of teams have actually been using her early push priority pretty effectively to go transition into like the early game's bottom scuttle or transition into early fights and stuff like that. I think actually the Nautilus Tristana pair has been the most popular with her. I actually was seen a Braum yesterday too, which was very, very well played. So I'm interested to see kind of how that lane plays around and how they want to work the jungler with that.
Sure, plays aggressively, and Tidy Rice on this Nautilus as well. So this is a very comfortable bot lane pair for Ainlay here. And with the amount of pinch we've seen come into the jungle, I'd be a little bit surprised if we don't see the jungler come out for Ainlay as their last pick here.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to like get all of the picks taken away here. And they got the Lulu. Yeah, I'm sensing a Vayne pick. Osborne 1's AD carries, I think, picked Vayne in almost every single game in the tournament. Did get kind of punished for it in the yesterday's event. Unfortunately, Lazert did kind of take a couple losses at Baron near the end there, but in the early game, Lazert 1 did manage to punish the Vayne bottom lane pretty effectively. So if they do pick it here, I think they will have to make sure it's a little bit more popular. I mean, they gotta pick the Kaisa, but
yeah.
I just completely alluded to something. You know, I'm small brain. I wanted to see the Vayne, but they got the Darius, so it's almost the classic comp that Osborne 1's been running throughout the most of this. You know, got those early morning. I can't see the champion that I literally pointed out 2 minutes ago. Eyes.
You need more coffee, John.
I do. I got the whole cup right here.
Oh, and as a response to that, Darius, so far, Darius has been really dominant in lane, but for Pandas here in the top lane, when that Urgot's been banned, that Kled has been on the table. So neither team selecting their junglers so far. We might see a further jungle pinch or maybe a bit of mid lane focus here, because both these teams have yet to pick their mid laners.
No, yeah, the Kled I think has been Ainlay 2's prominent top lane pick mostly, and they've mostly used that to either snowball the lane, but also even if he was a little bit behind, they were able to transition to using him on the map pretty easily, just because of the charge alt. But I definitely agree. I think they're going to start pinching the jungler with like the Karthus ban coming out of here, and I think they're just probably going to continue that on both sides. And really, we're probably going to force the jungle pool down to like 2 farming junglers, and we're probably not going to see as explosive in an early game as we have traditionally seen from these two teams. Mostly related to the jungle, though. I think the top lane and stuff like that still might be pretty explosive if they decide to take some really early duels.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a Tristana Nautilus. That tells me you want to play aggressively in that bot lane early, for sure. Like the early first 3 levels. And Kled Darius, those aren't champions who are going to back down by any means. Both of them want to play aggressively. I don't think we've seen the Kled Darius matchup so far here. And Darius is a lane dominant champion. Kled is a lane dominant champion. So I almost feel like whichever of these top laners kind of falls behind early is gonna get shafted, because I don't think they're gonna step back here. I think they're gonna keep trying to make aggressive moves even when they're behind.
Yeah, and that too, and also it's pretty disadvantageous to like move the jungler into the top lane kind of early on, particularly from what I've seen, like almost like, if you will, of this tournament, because there's been a lot of focus on kind of that 4 core of basically the mid jungle and then bot lane for most teams, and they've really liked to focus around that because a lot of these teams like to transition into dragon pressure, and bot prio has actually been, I think, very important for teams in this tournament. So I think having to move their jungle up to the top lane just opens up the bot lane, and as we've seen from previous games, Osborne 1's AD carry is very, very comfortable carrying the game if put into the position too. So I think if they do get behind a Jarvan ban there, I think it's just a little late on the click.
Yep.
So we'll get with the teams and quickly double check. It's likely they're just going to accept the ban as it was, because unfortunately it was just a little late click. Yep, they're just taking it. I've been confirmed from my lovely producer. So
Yeah, okay, so the J4 ban coming through. That's another 3 junglers pinched out here. And a lot of the early aggressive junglers, we might start seeing tank junglers come out. I mean, I feel like Graves is still on the table if you're still
Graves
looking
is still
for
on the
early
table.
pressure.
And
Yeah. Ooh.
oh, the Vlad picked up there, giving Ainlay 2 some good scaling, but also a very safe mid lane. I don't know. There's the Swain. That's a pretty yeah. That's a comfort pick for Osborne 1. Their mid laner likes to lean into it quite a lot, so not quite surprised to see it picked up here.
Yeah, and John, we were talking about the fact that Super Mario here on the Swain yesterday. I would have liked to see the Vladimir pick up instead. It's another champion in his champion pool, but the fact that Ainlay picking it up first, just denying it. And originally, I thought we'd see early jungle picks. It's fallen all the way to the end here. Last pick, the Skarner being hovered.
Skarner, Captain Flowers is appeased.
Here we go. I mean, usually we've been seeing Skarner picked as a counter to Hecarim, but Skarner is kind of like Udyr. They do the same things, right? Put the turbo chem tank on, they'll go and take a target, and this time it won't be low class having to deal with that Skarner running into them. It's on low class side here. Granted, it's not the Vayne, so you won't be able to 3-shot a target down while they're being impaled, but still, it's going to work really well into the Tristana part of me if you can get that.
Talia.
Okay, and that is an early aggressive jungler. I feel like that's almost as good as Elise here or Nidalee if you're looking at early ganks, early pressure.
Trying to get stuff set up there. I think it's gonna be interesting to see what the Skarner wants to prioritize, because there isn't a lot of champions I think he can just get directly on. I think Talia is arguably the easiest person to get on, or maybe the Nautilus, but you don't really want to be alting the Nautilus because Tristana can just jump away, the Vlad can pool, Kled can I don't even know where that gets his E that just lets him slide away. So and then I think Talia is the only one you can really approach with that ult. So early game, the ganks and stuff are going to be important, but in team fights, I think it's going to be very difficult for the Skarner to get to the targets he wants to. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how effective that pick is going to be.
And I feel like that's sort of the entire issue with Osborne's composition so far, is the lack of easy engage here. All their engage relies on them pretty much running at you. Maybe the Swain for Minecraft Mohammed here will be able to grab somebody with the never move, but other than that, who's going to go? And Skarner runs in, Darius has to literally run in. A buster shot, you've got a seismic shove, you've got, well, a Nautilus and a Vladimir to run through as well. So for Osborne, while their composition kind of wants to brawl and get in there, they're going to have problems doing that. Ainlay, on the other hand, much easier engage with the Nautilus, with the Kled just charging in here. They can just brute force a fight, and there's not a ton of disengage coming through from Osborne to stop Ainlay from engaging.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, just Talia and stuff like that. You have a lot of denial for them when they're coming in, because Talia can obviously just throw down her seismic, or I think it's her E, just cover up the area and not let them come in. Vladimir can just pull over pressure. Kled is just there to be generally annoying. And Nautilus can absorb a lot of that pressure, because say they dive in, Nautilus can just, like, take one for the team and get in front of them and stun them up and just deny them from coming in. So it's very difficult for them to just get on Ainlay. But I think with Ainlay engaging, I think it's going to be difficult if they mess up the dive in any way, because Osborne does have a lot of ways to react if you do get in, because if the Swain ult and Zhonya's can keep him alive if he gets engaged on. Darius, his Q, if he manages to survive long enough. Lulu with the polymorph or the ult. So they have a lot of ways to counter engage, and I think it's like they probably want to play more around like side lane pressure and picks and stuff like that. But if it does come to team fights and they're maybe a little bit ahead, I think they can win it out in the counter engage.
For sure, and we talked a bit about how Ainlay likes to play off sort of that 4-1 playstyle with the split push here, and so my eyes are drawn to this top lane between Serpandus and Bai. I loves you in terms of how that's gonna play out here. I'm just gonna bring that to Bai. So between Bai and Serpandus here, I feel like whoever can get a lead is gonna be very, very much key to this fight, and I'm gonna give the edge, I feel like, in lane a little bit to that Darius here against the Kled for Bai, but even if Serpandus falls behind, the Kled has a lot of utility as well, can literally just run down into a different lane faster than Bai can. And we've seen a lot of Darius run Ghost Flash here, which means no TP, no ability to get to the team. Sure, you can split push, but can your team survive 5v4 without you?
Yeah, and a note on that Ghost, I think the top laner for Osborne has picked it almost every single time. It was actually pretty crucial, like not a mistake, but a weakness in the what we saw in them versus Lizert game, because there was a lot of times where Lizert would bring down their top laner, would just teleport and stuff like that, and then they would win fights off of it, take objectives and stuff like that, and the Darius would just be stuck top lane with the Ghost. Yeah. Now usually they would trade maybe like a tower or get like a lot of XP into them, but just simply from having the top laner come down, Lizert was able to win a lot of fights and snowball some stuff, which almost punish that lack of teleport early on. Now they did have, I'm pretty sure, a Wukong, which did allow them to kind of stabilize the lane, even though the Darius did go up early. Where I think Kled will be a little bit more volatile of a matchup there, because obviously Wukong naturally stacks armor. So even if you do get behind, as long as you can stay safe and get to that point where your passive just gives you a ridiculous amount of armor, you can kind of survive and like negate some of the advantage he has. Where Kled, he gets kind of the point where even Kled can get tower dived by Darius if he gets too far ahead.
And that will be the key, right? Can you get the Darius ahead? Because if you leave the Darius and Kled alone, it might be a little bit tough for the Darius. But you've got the Skarner here, and the Skarner is able to get some really solid ganks off early. And because Kled doesn't necessarily have a ton of escapes early on here, a Skarner running into you, ganking you is definitely a viable thing. Just throw 1 or 2 ganks up there, and I think after that, Bai can sort of take over a lane. The opposite is also kind of true here for Kaizen with the Talia. If you can punish the Darius early, especially before he gets that Noxian Guillotine, that 2v1 is a lot safer. Once the Noxian Guillotine, however, is available, you have to make sure that for the side of Kaizen here, you don't step up. If you ever get pulled in, that's going to be at least 1 guaranteed kill, maybe even potentially 2 for that Darius there.
Yeah, I could get those solo queue Darius 2v1 montages. It's just coming out here. But yeah, jungle pressure is going to be early, so I've kind of alluded to, but I'm going to let the smart guy do it this time. What do you think the early jungle pathing of like these junglers is going to be?
For the side of Osborne, I'm hoping to see a bot side start roaming up to top lane. You don't really need to gank for that Lulu Kaisa early. For Fake Suzy and low class right now, the objective is not necessarily to win the lane, it's to not die early here. The first couple of levels, we've seen it so often with Banana and Tidy Rice, with Tristana and Otto's combination. They rush that level 2, they land that dredge line, you're dead. Flash or not, cleanse or not, heal or not, it doesn't matter. The sheer amount of damage they put out is enough to kill you. So Osborne's bot lane needs to survive. I want to see Muhammad look for the top lane, get your top lane snowballing. Your mid lane is going to be pretty much a neutralizing lane here. Vladimir, Swain, Vlad just sits there and soaks pressure. So focus at top lane, get your Darius ahead, let them carry. For Ainlay, on the other hand, with the Talia, every lane's the world's your oyster here. You can gank any lane and you can kind of potentially look to try and get kills. Yes, the Vladimir damage is not optimal for early ganks, but at the same time, it's a Swain. He's kind of squishy as well. And Talia's base damage, even if you can't kill the Swain, you can put him to a state where he can't lane properly. Top side, we spoke about how volatile that is, and bot side as well. You've got so much kill potential in the bot lane. It's really up to Kaizen what they want to do here. If you want to get killed, go bot. You want to influence the lane, go top. If you're bored and you're just driving past the mid lane, just gank. Why not?
Little casual drive by. Yeah, no, I think it's gonna. I think maybe they might want to put their focus towards bottom, maybe just because they do have the pushing lane advantage, and not really just to secure kills, but maybe to get control of the dragons and stuff like that, because that is a big priority I've seen mostly from the Ainlay teams, because they were scrimming and stuff like that beforehand, and I kind of assume they had the same coaching staff, if they did have any, or maybe the players coached each other. I'm not obviously sure of the situation, but there was a lot of focus on taking objectives and stuff like that, because Ainlay 1, for example, they had a very heavy focus on taking dragon and then rotating their bot lane to mid, and then focusing the Rift Herald, then moving the bot lane back to mid, back to bot lane, and then taking the dragon again, and just rotating these objectives as effectively as they could to keep ahead in the neutral objectives. And then I have seen that out of Ainlay too. They have a little bit less focus on it because they've had more snowbally games. They're usually their jungler getting fed, so they haven't had to focus on the neutral objectives as much, and they can kind of just force their strength and items. But I wouldn't be surprised maybe to see in this game, especially if Ainlay isn't like snowballing as hard in the early game, to see them maybe transition into trying to get those neutral objectives and stuff like that. Because I'm sure that is a strategy they're familiar with, particularly when they were maybe scrimming against their sister team.
Yeah, and if that is the route they kind of want to go here, then I do expect to see them try and take Dragon on spawn at that 5-minute mark very, very early on, because you want to desync the Herald and Dragon at that point here. If both are up, then Osborne can trade for you. You've got the bot lane priority. You will have it when Dragon spawns as well. So just go for that Dragon as early as you can, desync it, and then you can rotate your bot side, switch your top and bot lanes, make the Tristana and Nautilus your strong side be up there for that Herald take, or just rotate the Nautilus up. Roaming supports are a very, very strong thing right now, and a Nautilus roam is so much more deadly than a Lulu roam. A Lulu roam is just kind of neutralizing it. The kill pressure is not there, but a hook coming out of the bushes, out of the dark, that can net you a kill.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's actually why we've seen a lot of Mostly the pressure around the bottom scuttle. Like I've seen a lot of fights in this tournament of just like people going straight for like that bottom scuttle when it spawns, and just little interactions. So like they pull the bot lane up, pull the mid lane up, and it's usually whichever lane, bottom lane has the pushing lane tends to get priority on that scuttle. And as you said, yeah, maybe like the dragon on spawn and stuff like that. And the scuttle just giving you such that vital vision, but also snowballing your jungler ahead in XP and stuff like that. I think is very important. You see, as you said, they want to focus top lane maybe a bit more from Osborne, so maybe they might go for like the trade on the scuttles or stuff like that. But I have seen a lot of priority in the scuttle kind of dictating the jungle matchups in this tournament overall, just because of the XP and the gold it gives, but also just how teams have been playing around vision.
Yeah, and we are now on to the Rift here. The first thing, John, that I want to potentially see here is maybe an invade, because I like level 1 action here. And I feel like, look at what they have. We've got the Ignites coming through for the Kled, you know, for the Nautilus as well. And we are seeing that Flash Ghost Darius here. So I feel like getting an early kill, you know, is very, very possible, even though it doesn't look like the teams are wanting to do it.
Yeah, no, I've seen like there have been a lot of there's been I think like 1 or 2 invade attempts throughout it, but a lot of teams have been kind of positioning themselves like this in the early game to kind of avoid and just obviously spot out those early game invades for the most part. And I think that there was one that was tried, and the other team set up exactly like this, and they were able to just get out. Like I look, like they know. Get out of that bush. No,
I mean,
no bush bug.
We have to keep in mind too is that there are crystal spires on the map. We can't see them right now. It's not a bug. Riot has actually done this intentionally for spectators, so we don't see the spires. But that's what the Darius the Skarner, Vi, and Muhammad are looking for there. Now we can see it. Now it's been claimed, and I assume that bot side it was matched as well by Banana and Tidy Rice. Just a nice little bit of gold. I think what 15 gold it was how much it gives.
I think it's 15 or like 25 somewhere in there.
15 gold, yes.
We'll go with 15. We'll take the lower amount. If we're wrong, chat, sorry, nobody plays Skarner. Smile.
No.
Captain Flowers descends from the heavens and smites me immediately.
And so far, we are seeing Minecraft Muhammad. He's starting top side here. So unless we see a very cheeky sort of early gank into the top lane, it looks like they're going to leave Bai a little bit alone here. I'm not a huge fan of that decision. We'll have to see whether that pans out, because if they don't throw a cheeky early gank there, then it's going to be a couple of minutes before Muhammad can get back there, a couple of levels, and Kled might be able to start getting a little bit of an edge early on.
Exactly, and yeah, you are kind of seeing that kind of earlier game push from the bot lane, like we're attending, trying to rush that level 2 and then go for an all-in. But I think it's going to be mostly important just like where the lane stays based. Actually see early level 2 from Darius, but yeah, most of the time when they hit level 2, the top laner for Osborne has just got it. Exactly good. So speaking of level 2s, here's the engage on the bot lane, and there it is. The Lulu is dead. Never underestimate the level 2 damage coming out from the Nautilus Tristana. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's flash blown here from Fake Susie. The heal from low class also gone. And I feel like if you were going to risk that and play aggressively, the moment the explosive shot comes down from Banana there, immediately exhaust needs to come down. If the exhaust doesn't come down, the damage is going to kill you. Early first blood, and that pressure now on the bot side of the map, 100% going to go Ainlay's way here.
Exactly, and just getting that extremely early game prio, we probably will see the jungler go for a top lane gank, as I was going to say setting up for bottom, but it's just the lane is pushed up, and we got the level 2 power spikes, got a flash coming up from the Darius early on, a nice pull onto the Talia, a flash invested, but the advantage is to flash out and keep the pressure on. Unfortunately whiffs the W, but they do get some damage and burn the ghost and the flash on the Darius, but at the expense of the ignite and the flash on the side of Ainlay.
I think that was just a slight miscommunication there between Pandas and Kaizen. Pandas letting Bai shove in, that's great. You set up the gank, but Pandas was about 1.5 minions away from hitting level 3. And I think if they do hit level 3, maybe they can convert that. But for now, that is both summoners blown for Bai here. Will be vulnerable for the next 3 to 4 minutes. And I hope we get to see a re-gank coming in from Kaizen to try and secure that kill.
Exactly, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Osborne maybe transition into just double sculling him here. No, it looks like the Talia is going to get there in time, and the Skarner is going for the double jungle clear. But I think crucially, the Osborne did get the bottom scuttle there to avoid any kind of early game shenanigans and give himself good vision, because they do currently have, I think, overall vision control of the bottom river. Obviously, Ainlay does have the one ward to just spot out like early ganks and stuff like that, but this does deny them from playing around their arguably stronger pushing lane, particularly with the early kill coming out from Tristana. But we do see a Skarner kind of lurking in the bushes looking for a jungle. But hey, this ain't gonna work. Look at the ward. Look at the ward. The Pokemon match is not working today. It's just going to be a back coming down from the Skarner. And they are letting the lane push in too. I think that's Ainlay kind of respecting that Osborne does have vision control over the river here, and their junglers counter jungling up in the top lane. So just letting the wave push in lets the Tristana get a little bit more pressure, a little bit more farm and stuff, while avoiding any pressure that could potentially come down.
Yeah, and for all the advantage they got from that first blood, Banana and Tidy Rice did go for a bit of a cheater recall here. So we are seeing the pickaxe come through for Banana, but they were down levels as well. And early on, levels matter more than items here. The boost the abilities give you is huge. So they wisely play back, soak up that wave, and now they're an even or advantageous ground here. And if they can find another Dredge Knight onto low class, onto Fake Susie here, with the additional item advantage, it's been matched now by low class's own back, but if they can find that, they can still find the kill because the damage is there for them.
Yeah, and them spawning the Skarner on the top lane there, I think they are kind of looking towards jungle. I have seen some picks, or they're going to invest in a gank here. I'm not entirely sure, but no, it looks like they are going for the early jungle take, going to pull up the bot lane. And actually mid lane is crucially backing on the side of Osborne too, so they don't really have a reaction. I think it's just going to be pretty much a free Drake coming down for Ainlay here.
And I love it. 30 here, it's pretty early on, and like we said, it's desynced the Herald from the Dragon here. You can see from our observer Rob here, there's no vision. They know it's being done, they don't know how long it's being done, and no one can walk in safely here. If Fake Susie, if low class goes up, they have to watch out for just getting picked. A seismic shove, a dredge line, either would kill them. Same thing for Minecraft Muhammad, and Ainlay too, able to maintain their lead early in terms of objectives, if not so much in terms of gold or levels.
I think a crucial thing too is the Tristana is actually able to safely stay in this 2v1 lane for the most part, as long as they play it correctly, and just kind of sit there and soak up solo XP, get gold and stuff like that, while enabling the Nautilus to roam around the map, like you've noted in Champ Selector, just how strong and that is. So just being at the point where the Tristana can just kind of sit in this lane solo and just let the Nautilus free roam is, I think, just so powerful for Ainlay at the moment.
Yeah, and for Ainlay as well, they don't have, it's not like they drafted an early game composition which has to take off here. You've got a Vladimir, you've got a Tristana. Sure, your mid game might be a little bit weaker, but you can afford to just sit back and just make sure you scale up and become an absolute monster. Kaizen though is not a player who's known.
Yeah, but we got the Nautilus hook coming out early. Comes out of the bush, gets the stun down onto the Tristana, but we got the TAP invested coming down from the top lane, but it's up in the mid lane, coming down, and we got the Vlad coming in, and there's just so much damage. The ult is ticking down, and they managed to convert that into a kill. And the beautiful teleport coming out from Vladimir to kind of save a play that might have went incorrectly for Ainlay, and a good conversion down on the bot lane.
Not gonna lie, I thought Tidy Rice was dead to rights there when they kind of turned on it, but the heal was just enough topside.
No, topside, the ignites are ticking down. Oh, I think the bleed is not going to quite get that, but that does mean the Darius is coming out on top of the train. Right beside him. Oh, no. But I think that is fine for them. You'll probably see maybe the TP. Yeah, there's TP coming down top, and I think it's fine to invest that. It kind of sucks on the global pressure thing, but I think this does mean the mid laner and the top laner's TPs are pretty much linked up at this point. So though they are weak, they're going to be weak for about the same amount of time, and then you have access to all of your global pressure around the same time again, which I think is like just a little bit nice to track, but a little bit weaker overall.
And they don't lose too much here because Bai doesn't have the teleport, so Pandas using it for lane pressure is perfectly fine. Super Mario is the only person with teleport, but when you're a mid laner, that teleport's somewhat less impactful necessarily. You can often choose to walk down, and I expect to see Banana and Tidy Rice play a bit more passively here. Same with Pandas, knowing that the mid lane can rotate out, and that Keto here on the Vladimir has absolutely no CC to stop any TP.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting to see how these lanes are going so far. Obviously, Ainlay a little bit in control here. He does have the Dragon and about roughly 1k gold up, and it looks like they are doing their classic. They're looking for the Rift Herald here, pretty much on spawn, kind of setting up vision and getting ready for it. So yeah, this is what they've done a lot. You see, they moved the Tristana up in the mid lane here. Now, this is kind of a different case where the Vladimir doesn't have TP, so they've actually opted to keep them here to take the Rift Herald in case a fight or anything goes down. Now, this is giving bot lane free push, but I think it is kind of smart in the OA as well, that just in case this fight does go horrendously wrong, they still can get the Rift Herald for sure. And then they'll probably see the rotate maybe with Tristana moving back down bot, or they're going to move the Vlad there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think right now you can afford to send just Banana and Tidy Rice back down here. Keto will not have an enjoyable lane. And the only sort of complaint I have about that rotation was they messed up the bot lane a little bit here. They should probably have shoved it out before the rotation, but they didn't quite set it up right, and that cost them a plate here. 160 gold though compared to Herald. Herald is guaranteed 2 plates if you drop it before 14 minutes and it reaches the turret. But Banana needs backup. Banana can't walk up against 3 right now. Tiny Rice, get going.
Get down there, help your mate out. And we got a gank into the mid lane here. Vlad comes down, getting the damage, but unfortunately whiffs the Talia W, and that means it's going to be the Swain not dying today.
Kaizen not looking quite as comfortable on the Talia as what we've seen with the Elise so far. Topside, they're dueling again here.
And it's actually been pretty even back and forth. I think, does the bleed transfer onto Kled? No, it doesn't. Okay, I think that's actually a pretty interesting mechanic in this matchup. Because, yeah, the bleed passive is so strong, but it only goes onto the Scarl. And if you dismount from that, you don't have to deal with it afterwards.
Yeah, and that was why I was, kind of thinking if you get a couple of ganks off, maybe you can do something. But Kled will skill up here, and you can already starting to see that that Serpandis is going to be able to start taking control of this lane without pressure. And we've not really seen either jungler really get too involved. Kaizen's been looking a lot, fishing for opportunities, but not finding them. And Minecraft Mohammed's just been farming up a storm. A 9 CS lead honestly doesn't feel like it's worth the lack of pressure early. So I am looking at this first gank. Where is this Impale going to go from Mohammed? You are level 7. You have that ultimate, and no one's paid the QSS tax quite yet.
Yeah, no, not quite yet. I think it's more interesting for Ainlay. I think they should maybe focus on their bot lane and even their mid lane to an extent here. Because, yeah, the bot lane, as you said, is just going to scale up. And they got to the point where he can just evenly trade with the Darius and not worry about it too much. And then just focusing on their kind of fed Tristana down here in the bot lane and get that scaling. As opposed to, I think, Kled, which is like there's not a lot of kill potential up here. I think getting him ahead, as you said, would be good. But I think the Darius is already kind of negated in the fact that they aren't snowballing, they aren't punishing. I think maybe focusing on the Tristana and getting them rolling would be a little bit more important. And it also gives you a lot of pressure to take dragons just like this.
Yeah, and once again, zero rotation whatsoever there. You saw the pings just barely come down from Osborne while it was being done, but Minecraft Mohammed has already made a decision right now. Or Osborne has made the decision that they're sacking the dragons. They're not even going to try and contest it. They were fishing topside. So Pandas gets out. Now, with Herald here, this is going to be first turn.
Yeah, first turn, and I think crucially is going down into the bot lane for just sheer amounts of gold. That's going to get the Tristana rolling even faster. I think this is kind of reflecting some of my more criticisms I had of Osborne earlier in the tournament. Is they have very talented individual players. Like, they're very good at their lanes, they know how to play their champs, but they have lacked kind of a cohesion and teamwork that I have seen coming out from the other teams. And I think maybe this might have been a result because when they were playing scrims and stuff like that, they were just kind of stomping people or stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure. Where some of the teams with like the lower ranked players and stuff like that have actually focused a lot more on teamwork and communication, because they've just seen Ainlay's been very on top of their rotations. They've been playing together. Even Lazert yesterday against Osborne, you see like just the sheer value of teamwork can actually overcome a lot of these like individual deficiencies, as long as like that gap isn't like huge. Don't get me wrong, like they kind of throw the bronze against the platinum or something like that, it's probably not going to be a good time, but you can get around a lot, which is solid team play, and kind of shore up maybe some of your more individual lane weaknesses, which actually I honestly Ainlay hasn't even really had. They've been playing these lanes very effectively, but just they had that team play aspect as well, and I think that's been crucial to this match so far. But as we got a gank coming up in the top lane, the Kled is trading down onto the Darius and trading quite effectively, but the Skarner Repale comes down, but the Talia is just melting into them, and we got the rotation coming up from the Nod and Tristana from the bot lane, but the Kled goes over the wall. And here's the flash invested from the Skarner, managing to get out, but just so much pressure for Ainlay up here in the top lane.
You know what? I take that as a win for Osborne, that nobody went down there. It was so close. The Ignite didn't manage to finish buy off, and frankly, Mohammed was up a creek there with no paddle. So top tying was really impressive. And you talk about how strong the Osborne players are. I want to point out that they're actually winning their lanes kind of in terms of CS. Their buy was up a little bit. Mid lane, we are seeing a fairly large discrepancy, about 25 CS. And in the bot lane, Low Class and Fake Susie were into a super rough early game. They gave up first blood, and yet their CS is pretty even. So the mechanical skill they have is giving them a larger margin of error, but so far, just no proactivity is a bit of a problem. Now the Impale is down for Minecraft Mohammed. No flash either. Chem Tank is available though, but where
looking for a gank up in the top lane here. I think like as long as the W hits here, they can do something, but no, just kind of zones them off and just gets the remount onto the Skarl. But anyway, feel free to continue your point.
Yeah, no, they just need to find something proactive, and Kaizen's still struggling. I feel like we've not really seen the seismic shove land too frequently from Kaizen, and Kaizen getting, I don't want to say lucky because it's skill here, it's coordination, but really a lot of the pressure is just off the coordination that the team has right now.
Yeah, we've got some scuffles coming down here, but just like so much counter jungling coming out from both teams here. Just throughout the game, I think it's been like the losing top. It looks like, oh, we might have a bit of a fight here from the rotate from Osborne. Oh, I mean, nope, not looking like we're getting any commitments here. But I think crucially also Ainlay took over control of a lot of the vision there, and Vlad pushed up the wave all the way on the bottom there. But I think actually highlighting that the Osborne players are playing better individually is very, very important. Because, yeah, they've managed to keep CS and stuff like that in situations that normally you would just be completely at a disadvantage. And as you said, I think the best way to put it is that margin of error. I think it's actually such a lovely way to put it. If you do have better mechanical players, you have a larger margin of error to play around that. But just imagine if Osborne had like maybe the same level of teamwork and rotations that Ainlay had. So with that larger margin of error and the you just have such a ridiculously strong team that you can put together.
Now, Impale is back up. The cooldown is done right now. Osborne has sort of that playmaking tool, and I feel like they need to right now try and find something topside. You're seeing Pandas starting to take over that lane, and in the mid lane with Banana and Tidy Rice there, they will eventually take that mid lane outer turret. Super Mario's done a great job holding so far. Are they going to find Kled? Nope. They just can't. Chemtag just got popped, but it was late. Just running away. You have to run at champions. And another free herald going over to Ainlay.
Yeah, no, Ainlay just very, very proactive on these things. Just always rotating up their bot when the neutral objectives are spawning. Actually, it looks like they did move the Vlad into the mid lane here. Kind of surprised me they didn't send them bot, but actually, with how far the lane's pushed up, I think it's okay. But if they do let this continue, I think the Kai'Sa does have some turret pressure there. Or they can maybe use the Rift Herald to force them and just make a far larger trade than the Kai'Sa could make in the bot lane. And it looks like they are going to back and like set up for this dragon that is spawning here.
Yeah, and Keto was pushing the bot lane and just rotated up to give coverage to that Herald there. Did a PP. Ooh.
Oh, we got some scuffles up in the top lane. The Ignite's burning down on the Darius. The Kled just looking for the re-engage, but they're not quite going to commit to it. And then there's the Herald drop mid, and I think that wheel, nope, not quite kill the turret, but that gives them the lane pressure and just basically is a distraction. You get, you get the turret damage off of it, and you force the other team to go deal with it while you go take Dragon.
And I guess we should point out at this point, this is going to be the Cloud Soul here for this game. A little bit unfortunate for Ainlay, because I feel like if it had been almost any other dragon, that Soul would have been huge for them and potentially game closing. With the Cloud Soul, it's like, okay, yes, your ultimate cooldowns are lower, which is good for you to be able to fight again and again. But the movement speed buff after your ultimate, it's not going to feel terribly great for most of them. Kled's already going to be fast enough with the ultimate. Kaizen is very, very mobile. Can they find?
Again coming up here comes the heck down. They got the root. They're pulling back the Kled here, and the Darius is coming in to continue to engage. Still has pull. A little bit of camera stick there, and there's the dunk from downtown, and that's the man on the lizard going to the Shadow Realm.
And that would have been great, except for one little fly in the ointment here. Super Mario actually burnt teleport getting to that top lane, and did not get the assist, did not get Vision of Empire down quick enough. But still, good heads-up play from Osborne. This is what we wanted to see about 7 minutes ago from Minecraft Mohammed. It's not too late here. Yes, they don't quite as well, but they have this bit of a time period right now where Keto's not super monstrous yet. Banana is not max range yet. And if your Kai'Sa can find the Tristana in the 1v1 here, low class might be able to win that. Maybe.
Yeah, Kai'Sa, a pretty crucial spike just for sheer damage here, but it looks like the Talia is kind of pacing around the mid lane here. Oh, we got the hook into the mid lane. They're going down onto the Kai'Sa, but they got out the polymorph coming up here. They get the root onto the Lulu afterwards. There's the all coming down, saving them. But actually, Kai'Sa is going to fall as well. And the bot lane matchup goes in the favor of Ainlay, and that's going to be a free turret and just more gold onto that Tristana.
Not gonna lie, for Osborne right now, Fake Susie looking a little sus here. That's the third dredge line. It's every time he gets hit with the dredge line, they go down, and it feels like Kill's just going over the Banana here. The one person you really don't want to feed, because that's the one person you cannot reach here with that rocket jump, with that buster shot, and with the nice tanky front line they have in front of them. Banana is going to be so safe come the late game.
I think too, when the Tristana gets so far ahead, you actually get access to we have a fight up in the top lane here. They're knocking onto the Darius. Bear trap on a rope, pulls them back. It is a 3v1 here. They go crucially on to the Talia, and all the ults are coming down. The Clay gets knocked off of Scarl, and that's a double dunk. A little greedy on that turret take, and a good rotation from Osborne to trade that a little bit back in their favor. I guess more, because that is definitely more gold than the turret.
Yeah, and this is, by I Love Zeus Darius here. It's a scary thing to look at. Normally, Kled should be starting to win out, but with the pressure, they just needed... Honestly, that was overkill getting everybody there, but I'm down with it. You want to get the assist. You want to start spreading the gold here. Super Mario needs to be tanky enough to survive your front line. And this is that mid-game power spike that Osborne have right now. Unfortunately, we don't quite have Dragon timers, but they don't want to give up the next Dragon here, the Soul. They don't want to give up Baron. And if they can set up right and win a big fight at those major objectives, then they can try turn and burn and really start to make a huge comeback here.
Exactly, and it looks like Ainlay does have a little bit of control over the vision here for the Dragon spawning in 2-ish minutes. Now it's going to be down, I think, to Osborne to just come and clear that. And look at me, I'm a prophet. And Scar is coming down here and clearing up some of that vision, but they still have like a dominant lane of just control wards in the river here. So if Osborne doesn't come up and clear that, I think we're going to see a lot of pressure from Ainlay here to just rotate onto that Dragon and start it as fast as humanly possible. But as you highlighted, Cloud Soul not really as good on this comp. And also, I think it's just with the champions they're playing, the ultimates aren't as impactful as, say, some other champions you would see. It's like Tristana ult is just kind of nice. It's a knockback, a little bit of burst damage. And all this ult is obviously very, very good. The charge is, it's just nicer to have on a lower cooldown, as you said. Vlad ult's pretty good, but I think Talia ult is, it's okay, but a lot of these ults already have kind of lower cooldowns to begin with anyways. So it's like most of the time, if you are kind of team fighting not on like a super regular basis, you're most of the time going to have them up before, and a lot of them I don't think are effective in like just the team fight itself. And it's more about like for example, the charge is really good for engages and stuff like that, and they tend to play around those ults already and their timers. So it's not going to be as impactful. It's just going to be kind of a nice icing on the cake.
Yeah. I mean, generally, those ults are great for forcing fights here, but with the way Ainlay's playing so measured here around objective timers, you're right. It's not, the cooldown reduction isn't that huge, or the ability haste, pardon me, isn't that huge here. We might start seeing potentially the first major big 5v5 here. So we're starting to see everybody rotate up towards the mid lane here. Top side blue, red side bot right now in terms of vision, but the mid lane is being shoved up, and Osborne might have overextended a little bit.
Yeah, they're looking for a little fight. The Vladimir's got the flank onto the Kai'Sa here. Does have to charge up Q, but just getting melted down a little bit. Not quite enough burst damage to get anything down in here. But I think Dragon is spawning in 20-ish seconds here. So this is going to let Osborne, who have taken a little bit of the advantageous position here, to de-ward and get ready for it. But I think we will definitely see a fight over this. But even if Ainlay maybe doesn't want to take this fight, they can afford to. They're up 3 dragons. It's kind of nice to get the soul as soon as possible. But no, they have full committed. It's the teleport coming down from the Vlad on the back. They're going to look to take this fight. Here comes the Talia ult, splitting the team in half. But such a beautiful ult going down the Swain. The Impale comes down on the backside, but the Swain is burning alive. They get invested on Darius, but the knockup gets to the Darius, can survive, and the McKnight is coming down. But Skarner is melting, but Kai'Sa has crucially gotten onto their stun, but Tristana gets out, and the Vlad is just burning away the rest of the back line, and they've been burning down. Oh, we got Vladimir on here, but Vladimir is just so strong right now, and Tristana finishes them off, and that's a quadra kill coming down for the Vlad on the side of Ainlay, and that is going to be Cloud Soul confirmed.
From Keto as well. Keto's been playing a lot of Galio, been playing that supportive mid, but this game has nothing to do with support here. That was a hard carry performance. Banana got chunked out immediately, and if not for the gold lead they already had there, I think Osborne could have taken that. It really went down to the wire. No healing cut really available for that fight, unfortunately. I do believe the Oblivion Orb came in after the fight for Super Mario, but yeah, that was so close. And going forward towards these fights, they need to finish upgrading these healing cut items. They need to make sure that Keto doesn't get to sit literally in the middle of 5, just sat there pumping out the damage.
Oh, it looks like Fake Susie has a DC. Okay, just an instant reconnect, but you see the pause coming down to make sure they are reconnected and comfortable. Probably just a little bit of internet issues coming out here. I think another cool thing we can highlight from that fight too is the Vlad with the quadra kill there actually completely stacked the Dark Seal. So I'm curious to see if maybe they will transition into the Medjais, and we might see some the big movement speed Vlad coming out today, because they already do have the Proto Belt, but it looks like Ainlay is sizing up that Baron.
Yeah. And one thing we should note as well about the Medjais is that because of the way Vladimir's passive works, when you build a Medjais, the more kills you get, the more health you get, making it harder.
The Nos might be a little bit out of position. They're getting the stun down, but Darius has gotten onto Tristana. Out of the rocket jump, and the Skarner all coming down on the Tristana. Tristana is melted, and that is just so much of their damage, and that's the Baron attempt thwarted by Osborne. And they're just looking to get a little bit more, but they have gotten Ainlay crucially off that Baron by taking out their Tristana and securing a little bit of vision around there. And that was a really good pick by Osborne there. Looked like the Nautilus would get caught out, but they got onto the Tristana instead, and that completely delays any chance Ainlay had of taking the Baron.
Yeah, and I want to highlight how difficult it is to be able to find that Tristana as well. Banana turned around the corner. If not, normally to run at a Tristana, you've got the rocket jump. And yes, Bai manages to hook and pull back, apprehend Banana back in. But that was because Banana was close enough. Normally, you don't get that close. Buster Shot wasn't even used. Heal not used either. All of that is escape tool. So great pick to delay the Baron take, but it's just that, a delay. Banana is back up once again. Teleport is available for Pandas, so Pandas can split push the bot side right now, TP over, and initiate, and neither team has really enough damage to just burn down Baron right away before a TP can complete.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the AD carries on both sides are very strong here, but they are on like that kind of like 3-item power spike where they just start melting neutral objectives like they're nothing. So it is going to take a while for the teams to melt through those Barons. I think, who do you think has a little bit faster of a Baron take? I think it is towards Ainlay just because they do have the Vladimir and the Tristana, but obviously Kaisa no slouch on that with the Lulu.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure because with the Leandries coming through for Osborne as well, there is pretty good burn from Super Mario. So I'd say it's pretty even here. But for a second there, I was getting a little concerned. Bai had to rotate to the bot lane to try and match Pandas. But again, Bai, the Darius with no teleport here. Ghost is down as well, so you can't sort of try and rush that Ghost Marathon halfway across the map either. And the next time they see Bai down there, I want to see Ainlay just pull the trigger right away. Get some kills, and even if Bai manages to get there, by the time Bai gets there, the fight should be over, and they should just be the last remaining survivor who can't contest them.
The Nautilus getting caught here. I think they're looking for a charge from downtown, but they got the lockdowns coming down on the Nautilus. Huge swing still coming out. Whiffs on the dredge line. They're looking for the re-engage here. Barely with the opposite. We got the pull on the Julia, and it's going to continue to take. Oh, a huge flash to get out of that fight and keep them alive. Here's the charge coming down from the Kled. They're looking for the fight. Oh, big pull to deny the Darius pull. And Ainlay disengaged from that fight very, very well, but it looks like we're going to have a little bit more coming down as Osborne pulls on to the mid lane.
And let's track how many ultimates and summoners got thrown there. That's 3 big ultimates from the side of Ainlay here. And for all that we've ragged on Cloud Drake, that's going to come in real handy here because that will be up sooner. The flash blown from Kaizen. And all that cost Osborne 2 ultimates, the Impale, as well as the Demonic Ascension from Swain. And more importantly, it burnt the flash off of Muhammad. So we won't see that flash Impale after this year. Things are getting real dicey for Ainlay. And yes, we have seen teams get away without paying the QSS tax, but with how close this game is, I would like to see Ainlay start paying a bit of their taxes here and guaranteeing themselves a much safer team fight.
I agree. I think definitely at very least on the Tristana here, because you do have the one disengage like with your rocket jump and stuff like that, but just with the amount of single target CC that Osborne does have coming out here. But speaking of single target CC, doesn't quite get the stun down on to Kaizen. And they just got to go back and forth here. But yeah, I think the QSS tax is going to be very important on the carries. I think Vlad may be able to get away with it a little bit more just because of how long pool exists. But Tristana is just so crucial to their damage right now that you just cannot afford to be locked down for any amount of time.
Yeah, and if Kaizen wants to play this aggressively, be the one in front, then maybe it's time to, pick up either a Zhonya's or a QSS as well. I know the QSS doesn't feel very good for AP mages, but yeah, you can't be face checking like that without it. You were saved by the fact that Muhammad did not have Impale, or that ends very, very differently. If this stalls out for another minute and a bit here, Elder will be up as well. And I'm not sure what the teams prefer, but I know I personally prefer Elder Drake, because if you get that, it doesn't matter if the other team has Baron, you force the fight, you've got more engaged tools as well. And I suspect Ainlay is of a similar mind as we see them starting to set up vision on this bot side.
Yeah, Baron requires like good wave management and stuff like that to kind of get the full effect out of its buff. But as you said, Elder Drake, you just take it and you force a fight. You push down a lane, you force the enemy team to come to you. And as long as your team is even or even like ahead or even actually slightly behind, to be honest, you're going to win that fight just from the execute. So it is it's a much easier win condition to play around, and honestly almost a little bit more consistent as long as your team has the mechanical abilities to just win the team fight.
Yeah, and for Osborne as well, it's going to be huge because it's a percentage threshold execution. So it doesn't matter how tanky Pandas, Keto, or Tidy Rice get, especially Keto, because with the way the Hemo Plague works, it heals you up massively. If you can get them low enough, it executes immediately. We're seeing people running back and just burning out of base. And I can't believe that so far, Ainlay hasn't lost a single yet.
No, they've been playing around the map really effectively, but I think just the lack of global pressure that Osborne kind of inherently has because their Darius doesn't have teleport, and really the only teleport they have to work around is that. But it looks like we are sizing up the dragon here, and I don't know who's going to pull the trigger first. The Scanner is looking for those picks with the Chem Tank. There's kind of equal vision on here. I think the Scuttle is pretty crucial here because obviously you can't clear out that vision, so Ainlay is always going to have kind of a viewpoint at the start of this fight. And they're just pacing it up here. It's just too tense. I think it's interesting. Osborne wisely going over to push up the lane first, but it looks like Ainlay is committing to the Drake. It's probably going to be an engage coming up from Osborne here. Just match to make sure they don't get on anybody. Darius is looking for the pull. Stride breaker into 2. Swain up. Coming down with the wall is going to split the team in half. But the engage with a Kaisa onto the back line. She's just absolutely shredding everybody. Tristana is uncontested on the back line, just shredding through everybody. But the Vlad is coming up huge. But unfortunately, the rest of the team falls. And that is Osborne taking a crucial team fight off of the back of the Kaisa ultimate and just getting the Elder Drake. And Ainlay is kind of in dire straits after that. But luckily, they do have a lot of their turrets, so they will lose a lot off this, but they won't lose the game.
All those turrets right now, John, are just standing gold for Osborne. Osborne can take the turrets, they can take Baron, they can take anything they want. In fact, I was going to say for Osborne, they don't have to take Baron right now. They've got Elder buff. They can just push in, wait for Ainlay to respawn and rebait a fight at Baron here. But nope, they're going for the safe play. They're going to make sure they secure Baron here. And now Osborne here. And it's not because they've got necessarily the better tools. It just looks like they're more patient. When it comes to team fights, they waited there, they cleared out all the vision. They, the flank as well from Minecraft Muhammad to find the back line was absolutely amazing in the last one.
Exactly, and the Kaisa just crucially waiting until like a lot of like abilities were blown, a lot of summoners, and then just dove into the back line and get like one shot. I think it was Kaizen, and just continued to just output raw damage in the back line. Now the Tristana was kind of uncontested on the side, but because Kaisa was exactly where she needed to be, was able to just beat down on the carries, just a very crucial edge in that fight. But I think this is where actually you do see the X factor just having better, more mechanically gifted players, which I don't think you can really argue. Osborne does kind of have the advantage in that regard because they are able to execute team fights better and snowball these fights, and it does kind of come down to that point because Ainlay has been ahead on the neutral objectives and the lane pressures and stuff like that for most of the game, and that is shown by just the amount of turrets that they still have remaining. But just when it comes down to raw team fight mechanics, it has left a little bit to be desired.
And if we check into Dark Seals right now, Super Mario after that last fight now at 9 stacks, not quite fully stacked, but Kiddo has lost a couple here, only down to 7. And ooh, look at this, just shove here. This is without low class. You're missing your AD carry, your ranged AD carry, because Bai is your melee AD carry, and he's wrecking the turrets, and they can continue to shove it. They still have a bit of time on this Elder buff here, though it should be expiring soon. And the Baron buff, they've got, I believe, another, what is that, minute and a half on that here. So they can just rotate to a different lane, push in, once again, repeat, rinse and repeat.
Exactly, and just like so much pressure from the Baron. This is how you have to play around the Baron win condition. It's just, yeah, push as many lanes as you can, utilize the minions, and they're just picking up so much gold here. The way we had like basically Ainlay up like about a K gold for most of the game, but from these turrets in that lost team fight, Osborne has taken a massive, almost 4K gold lead here, roughly even 5K actually. Looks like we are looking for a bit of a fight under the turret here. And they just secured a big lane. This is actually what happened in the game against Lazur yesterday, where Osborne was down. They won one huge fight, took a bunch of objectives, and then just completely snowballed the gold lead into their advantage in the late game, and just kind of stomped through team fights with just raw mechanical skills. So.
The GA pickup now onto low class here. If you thought low class was dangerous enough before, now you can actually initiate with that Kaisa, just diving in Wild Growth to knock them up, and then the rest of the team comes in. That is now a possibility. Not one I'd like to see necessarily, and ooh, that's dangerous. That's not an ambush. That is a trap there for the side of Osborne. That's a 2v4. You don't want to do this. Back out, and considering the fact that Elder and Baron went down, not the worst case scenario for Ainlay, and Ainlay can still bounce back. They just have to keep Banana alive. That's their kind of win condition right now. If Banana lives, if their front line doesn't instantly melt, they can still burn targets now.
Yeah, Ainlay still has a fairly healthy amount of turrets up. Like Osborne did get a ton of gold off that with the turret takes and stuff like that, but Ainlay is still very safe, and they can kind of just on farming or stuff like that to kind of even out the differential. They don't need to do anything aggressive because they have taken that Cloud Soul and they have been so up on those neutral objectives that they really only, maybe need to contest like the Elder Drake or something when it spawns or different stuff like that. So they're still in a position to come back and win this game. They're not at like dire straits, but they are definitely behind on the gold lead right now. And I think raw team fights are going to be very difficult for them to just straight up take.
And what I like to see from Ainlay, because of their position right now. Oh, never mind.
Over the wall! That forces the flash out of the Talia there. That was just a crucial summoner spell burnt there.
I was actually just going to say, I want to see Ainlay right now sort of split push, use their TP advantages, and not fight for the next minute and a half, 2 minutes, because you don't have to. You're just waiting for a dragon. But with that flash blown, Kaizen's not going to have that up. when Elder respawns, when Baron respawns here. So that's going to feel a little bit rough. Does still have the Weaver's Wall though, so Kaizen can split push, and as soon as you see anybody show up, just Weaver's Wall right away. That's a possibility here, and honestly one that I would like to see come through.
Yeah, no, Ainlay having just such good wave clear, and pretty much every one of their carries does absorb a lot of these waves that are pushing in, particularly because there are no super minions on the side of Osborne 1. So they can gotta just, as you said, play safe, farm up for the next minute, and just wait for the next dragon fight. But I think if Osborne does take this dragon, it's going to be very, very difficult for Ainlay to even just resist a siege at any point, because with just how strong the Darius and Sconner is, they kind of can just ignore an inhibitor turret or something like that. So picks become very, very scary if you let them just get Elder Drake for free.
And I mean, John, it's not just Osborne. It's for either team, whether it be Ainlay or Osborne. I feel like with the way the fights have been going, we're not going to see many survivors. It's not going to be a handshake walk away here. It's going to be two teams throwing their entire team in there to try and find something. And they might.
They're looking for the. Oh, they got the crucial pull on the Talia here, pouring in the back line, but Zanya's coming out to keep them alive, and the re-engage from the Swain is also Zanya's coming down. And they're looking for the fight. Oh, that Darius engage just does so much damage, and both of the 80 carries are uncontested. But Kaisa crucially zoning up there with the Vlad looking to train on here, and they got Serpandus down, and just so much damage. Darius coming up huge, and that's a quadra kill for Bai.
You need to start batting buys, Darius. I don't care what you pick into it. It's just not safe anymore.
It's so much damage, and just, yeah, the Scarter just rolls in and pulls the Talia out. The Nile I was talking about in Champ's Leg, just not even there. Because, like, I mean, they also just didn't buy QSS.
Yeah, but I mean, sure, the stopwatch is a good pickup here, and I do believe we have these boat coming through here for Ainlay. Unfortunate that they lost. They had such a clean, solid early game. They got almost all the dragons uncontested, the heralds as well, and it just really felt like, okay, around, what was it, 17 18 minutes, Ainlay just kind of went, guys, I think we can sit back here. And Osborne's like, okay, they're relaxing, we're online, we're going to take over.
Yeah, and I think it's been a big strength of the Osborne 1 team as they proved against their game in Lazert. They're able to just like, we see them slacking and just punish like one crucial mistake that the team ahead has made, get the shutdown gold or just get turrets and stuff like that, completely just ellipse the other team in gold, even though they've been behind most of the game, and just run it all the way back. And usually, yeah, they take like one or two crucial fights in the late game and then just run it home. And that was the story what happened with that in the last game too. Was there any like we kind of talked about it stuff, but was there any kind of crucial moments you maybe want to point it out where like was just like the massive turning point of the game?
Yeah, I think that last fight, Super Mario versus Keto there, both the Vlad and the Swain want to get into the middle of the fight. And very crucially, Super Mario did just that, actually ran into the back line, sat right in the middle in a choke point. Whereas if you think back to where Keto was actually in the blue pit and wasn't in there. The Sanguine pool didn't actually damage the entirety of the team. And I think it really did come down to that, because when the pops happened, when the Demonic Ascension popped versus when the Hemoplague popped, you could see the difference in damage. All of Ainlay almost just flat out died when the Demonic Ascension popped, whereas when the Hemoplague popped, it's just like, oh, okay, something tickled us. Keep going, guys.
Exactly. But yeah, unfortunate loss coming up from Ainlay there, but a good comeback from Osborne, showing they really don't crack under the pressure and are able to come back, and they have secured themselves a place in the finals to go against McNally. But Ainlay isn't completely out there, are going down to our third place match, which you will see next, to play against Osborne 2-0. And we'll be bringing you to that in roughly 10 minutes, and we'll see you after the break.